Law is making moves, and he's making big ones. One Piece 697 off the bat. You can do nothing but respect Law for the power move that he just made, him and Luffy, and what they did to Doflamingo. Now, going into it, obviously read the chapter. So basically, where Law gives Doflamingo the ultimatum, you want Caesar back, you gotta quit the Shichibukai. I want to see it in the paper by tomorrow. That is a very powerful move. Since we know that they're going after Kaido, that is automatically like on some divide and conquer shit, and at the same time eliminating a threat. If he stops, basically messing with Kaido because he pisses Kaido off and doesn't have the smile, then automatically, okay, when we go up against Kaido, we don't have to worry about Doflamingo. But at the same time, he's kind of, I guess, banking on the fact that Doflamingo will be more scared of the admirals and the government than Kaido himself. Because it's like, who, at this point, Doflamingo's in a bind. It's like, who should I be more scared of? Kaido or the government? The government is pretty scary at the same time. They're not going to fall over for this shit. They're going to go full throttle on him as well. It's like, okay, you want to betray us? Oh, okay, we're going to go after you even harder. And at the same time, also, we don't know the full extent of, we've always had this feeling, and it's been for a while now, a lot of people have been theorizing that there's some more connections with Doflamingo and possibly the Gorosei. So maybe leaving his spot as a Shichibukai is not even an option. Maybe, he might have to actually cut off ties with Kaido after this one because he can't deliver the smile. He probably, if they don't get the newspaper, which I'm banking more so that he won't be able to give up his spot. He's not going to be able to give up his spot because he's probably too invested in the Gorosei. Maybe, again, between his family heritage, we don't know that. Or also just that he might be too scared. It's really just it's a gamble right now. And Law made a very powerful move right there. That's a very powerful move right there. Things is going to change and shake up either one way or the other. Either Doflamingo is going to be even more so hunted down by the government. It's going to be a wrap, no more. He's not a Shichibukai after he worked for that for 10 years. Or it's going to basically have, a separation. Either way, very powerful move right there. A couple of different things going on. First of all, Doflamingo, he is showing some sides to him that we haven't really seen before, and it's actually getting me a little bit curious, because when he shows up and they're trying to explain to him, they're like, Buffalo and Baby 5, they're like, oh, we're sorry, we'll kill ourselves. And he's like, don't worry about it, I was just following my orders. That makes you think, why is he acting more kind-hearted? We've seen him actually been compassionate and worried about these two. And we've seen in the past, quite the difference. With the Bellamy, he just straight up had him killed. He killed him, made him kill himself. He did all sorts of things. So what is the difference between how he acted back then and how he acted now? Was it something that Bellamy said that really pissed him off to do that to him? Does he need Buffalo and Baby 5 more so than he needed Bellamy? Maybe Bellamy was just straight up weak to him, and he was like, I don't need this guy, but he values Baby 5 and Buffalo's strength more. I don't know, it almost seems as though it could have been something personal with why he did that to Bellamy. It could have just been something personal. Maybe there was more ties, maybe there was just something that we didn't really get there, because he's acting very different with these in particular. Now, I wanted to address the whole thing with the cigars and the timer, and the whole thing of basically him saying the Skyway's been cut off. Now, Skyway, I'm looking at it as a possibility that could be a sort of play off the words highway. And does it have a connection to that? Because I was a little bit confused on that part. Was when Luffy and Law did that, were they leaving that as a detonator? Was that supposed to detonate them? Highly unlikely. There was I had approximately 3 options right there. Was it a detonator? So okay, once these cigars blow out, so there's going to be an explosion on them. That's probably the least out of the 3, because Luffy wouldn't really rock with that little straw hats. Law don't care. But Luffy and them, they wouldn't do that to them. So I doubt it was that. Was it to lead Doflamingo to that particular place? Does Law know more about the powers, about Doflamingo's powers in particular, than we know? Because him with the Skyway, it looked as though that those lines we saw him running towards or running on were connected somehow to the Skyway, or he was following it, because maybe Law knows that the way he says that they're lucky, the Skyway's been cut off. Maybe that smoke from the cigars had something to do with cutting that off. Either way, it was very interesting the way it was cut off, and I think it possibly had something to do with those cigars. Maybe Law knew of the Doflamingo's powers to run on the sky or follow smog. I don't know exactly. We don't know. It's just he says the Skyway's been cut off, and they're very lucky. So I'm not exactly sure on that particular way. Either way, Law rattled Doflamingo again. Is this like, what, the second or third time? I can't recall anymore that Law pissed off Doflamingo. So he's doing the right thing. Divide and conquer. He's going to either, one way or another, either Doflamingo's going to be a traitor to the government or a traitor to Kaido. Also, touching up on Kaido slightly, I want to talk about. Kaido, from what we know, he's supposedly the man of beasts and everything. Obviously, he's the guy with the army of using the smile fruit. Maybe his entire army is just nothing but zones. And a lot of people are tossing this theory around. I think it sounds pretty legit because of the way Law was describing him as this undefeatable beast. It's a huge possibility that he's a legendary zone, and it's possible he could transform into all sorts of different animals, not just one in particular. And if that's the case, that is why Kaido is just unstoppable, because, he could turn into a bird, he could fly away, he could turn into a rhino, destroy you, who knows exactly to what extent Kaido's powers. But either way, the way he was described as, it is pretty safe bet that he is possibly a legendary zone or even beyond that. I would love to see the extent of his power, but either way, this chapter, definitely a pretty solid one. A lot of good stuff, build up, a lot of good build up, building up to what's going to happen. Within the next couple chapters, we're going to have a huge twist in the story. I'm a little disappointed, I'm not going to lie. I really wanted to see Luffy and Doflamingo cross heads in this one, but Oda always, I prefer to not always be right with something that I predict, and I prefer to be a little bit more thrown off. Like, that's something that series like One Piece and even a Hunter x Hunter do. It's really hard to predict because they kind of always throw you off. Okay, that's not what you're going to get. You're going to get something else, but you might get that a little bit later on, but you just got to wait. So, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see Doflamingo arrive and, start kicking ass and everything. But it still was a nice approach at it, and showing that Law is really playing some big moves. He's not joking around. This ain't a joke to him, and that I can really appreciate. Overall chapter, I give it around a 4, 4.5. It was really just a good build-up, another good one. It was really just showing that the story right now is about to make big moves, and depending on where they go next, is really going to change up the story. Love the comedy with the Marines and how they were trying to be badasses because they really like the Straw Hats. That is going to show a bond, and I think at some given point, again, the Straw Hats and the G5, Smokers crew, they're going to meet up again and have good times. I could clearly see that happening at some given point. And, them pretending, oh, we hate you guys, but then they're just, having fun and everything. So I can't wait to see that. Overall, really enjoyed the chapter. Really good, really exciting, and I just can't wait to see all the answers to these questions. What do you guys think, though? Did the Flying Way, or what was it that it was called? The Skyway. Did the Skyway have something to do with those cigars? Was he running on the smokes? Was he just following it? Also, what do you guys think he's going to do? What do you guys think he's going to do? Is he going to quit being a Shichibukai? Or is he going to pretty much stay as a Shichibukai and break ties with Kaido? I'm leaning more towards that. Honestly, I think he might. It would advance the story more if he was to... it would make more sense that to break him off of... being with Kaido, because then it would make the trip down there a little more easier, less alliances for Kaido. But also, my theories of him being connected with the Gorosei, he might not be able to at this point. So I want to lean more towards that he won't be able to leave his spot as Shichibukai because of his connections and what he's built up in the last 10 years, and maybe his bloodline also to boot. Let me know what you think, overall thoughts of the chapter. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for Doflamingo because he looks pissed, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm for Nebel World, and as always, people, have an awesome day.